If you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
This has been another episode sponsored by Online Horse College. If you haven't had a look at the wide variety of equine-specific accredited courses, then go to onlinehorsecollege.com and I'll see you over there. Today's guest is Jenny Bray. Jenny's a dressage specialist rider, trainer, competitor coach, and she's also ridden and competed her own horse from start to Grand Prix. How are you today, Jenny?
I'm good, thank you, Glenys. How are you?
Good. Jenny, I know you've listened to a few of the other interviews, but we normally start off with a favourite quote. What have you got for us?
I've got probably quite a few, Glenys, and I'm not even sure if I'd call them quotes. I think they're probably more mantras of what I try and follow when I'm training and in life as well. Probably the first one is that, and we often say it around here when we're all training our horses together, is to own it. And I suppose what we really mean by that is that, own the mistakes that you're making, own the achievements that you're making, and own what you're actually doing at the time. And I suppose coming out of that is always we say to each other, well, what can I learn from this? So if we've made some mistakes or our training isn't going to plan, or we're not achieving what we wanted to achieve, then we're asking ourselves, well, why not? And what can I learn out of the fact that I'm not actually achieving those anymore or at that time? Yeah. So probably those two are tied in together, the own it and what can I learn from this.
Yeah. Okay, and I like those. And I was going to say, if you say own it, you'll learn from your mistakes, but then you tied in the what can I learn from this anyway, which is great. And I know you've got another one at least, or another couple. So, keep going on. Yeah. Okay,
all right. I suppose, as anybody who is, and I do think that most horse riders are goal-orientated. I'm saying that doesn't mean that we're all heading for the next Olympics. It can be purely that we want to nail a good transition at some stage. So if you really want to do something, you are going to find a way to achieve it. And I'm saying that it does mean that you usually will have to make some sacrifices, move out of your comfort zone and push yourself to take some risks. I mean, if you don't do that, you actually don't find out what you can achieve. And on that, saying that, it sort of ties it back to the own it and your mistakes and things, because if you do push yourself out of your comfort zone and push yourself to take those risks, you are also opening yourself up to the fact that you may make mistakes. And I think we've all got to sort of go, well, that's okay. It's okay to make mistakes. If you're not, then I don't really think you're pushing yourself, and then you're not really pushing yourself to actually try and achieve some of your goals. So that's something that we all sort of stick to around here as well. And the last one is probably life is full of choices. You can choose to be negative about something, or you can choose to be positive about something, but it is your choice at the end of the day. So you can choose to get grumpy with yourself because you're not achieving what you wanted to do, or you can choose to go, it's okay, I'm getting closer. Every day I go out there and try, I am getting closer. So they're pretty much the mantras rather than quotes that I try and run my training and coaching from.
And they all tie in together too, Jenny. Even sort of you move from one to the other, but even if you say life's full of choices, whatever choices you make, you still own it, which takes you back to the first one, doesn't it?
That's right. So they are all tied in together. And really, if you look at those as a great big bundle, you can just say, train from the positive, don't train from the negative.
Yep.
We're all out there trying to do it. We're all out there trying to get better. Let's all be positive about it. Let's not get caught up in all the negativity.
Yes. Jenny, think about your very first memory or one of your first memories with horses. You know, maybe the first time you rode, maybe the first time you remember riding. I don't know. You tell me. Tell us about the day, the day that had happened. Yep, what happened?
We used to live in South Australia, and I don't know whether you remember, but you used to be able to buy these books that had, like, you know, you could get a free popcorn at the movies, and you paid $50 for this book. And in it was this pony ride at our local riding school in Adelaide.
Yep.
And there's 3 of us in the family, and I'm not sure how I won the short straw on this one. But in that book was a pony ride, and for some reason I was given the pony ride. And I can vividly remember going out, I must have been only about maybe 6 at the time, and going out and getting on this pony. I think the pony ride probably lasted about 5 minutes, and I was led around and around on the end of the string. And that was probably the very first start of going, actually, I quite like this. And we went on from there. My mother really got into riding. She didn't get her first horse until she was 40. But it was a bit of a goal for her. And my brother and sister continued on riding. And they rode at a riding school in Milo in South Australia called Nanto. But at that time, I was actually a gymnast. So I rode every now and then, but certainly wasn't the keen one in the family. I mean, in fact, I think my brother and sister were probably more talented than I was. But they didn't go ahead with their riding, and I stuck it out.
It's funny, isn't it? And just that little bit of a ticket, you know, where you got the free pony ride, got it all started.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's not really happy she went and bought that booklet.
Okay. Now, Jenny, just going on then from that, you were a gymnast for a little while first and then came back to horses. What made you come back to horses?
Well, I did ride a little bit while I was still doing my gymnastics. I'm probably one of those people that gets very focused on what they're doing.
Yep.
And I was a state gymnast, which meant a lot of hours, a lot of training. But I would sneak off and ride when I could. Mm-hmm. My mother was involved with the Riding for the Disabled in Adelaide, and she would often let us have a day off school to go and help out. And I'd always sneak a ride in at the same time. So, yeah, pretty much that's how it went. It wasn't until we moved here to Melbourne, and as part of the deal to my father, my mother and I said, well, if we move to Melbourne, we have to have a horse.
Okay. Yep. I think that's a fair enough deal. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay.
That one horse turned into us ending up purchasing a property, and he even ended up with his own horse. So, yeah.
That's good, isn't it? Yeah. And then going on and becoming a coach and riding at a high level and, you know, things like that. What led that on? Was it just progression from one thing, just kept, you know, you're a bit goal orientated? I'll just set another goal. I'll push myself out of my comfort zone. How did that work?
I think I was just very, very lucky with the opportunities that came my way, which I just grabbed. I was very lucky with the horses that came my way, and I was very, very lucky with the instructors that I've had over the years.
Yep.
I typically was in Pony Club, and in those days we were instructed by a lady called June James, who was a little bit of a sergeant major, but she taught you discipline. I think I was just incredibly lucky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, Jenny, to get started in the horse industry, and there's quite a few different career paths and different roles that people can have in the horse industry, but if people are going to be working with horses themselves, what sort of core skills or character traits do you think they need to get started within that horse industry?
I think that they really need a sense of humour.
Yes.
Things go wrong, and sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You are working with living, breathing creatures that got their own minds. Mm-hmm. I also think that you need to be a very honest person. And when I say that, that's not as in terms of not wanting to steal something, but I think you need to be honest to yourself, honest to the people that you're working with, and honest to the horses that you're working with. I find that's a really big need or trait that you need if you're working with horses.
Okay.
And, of course, dedication.
Yes.
It's a lot of hours.
Yes.
It's a lot of hours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yep. What do you think is the best thing about working in the horse industry, helping people, coaching, riding?
Oh, I love seeing them achieve what they've set out to do.
Mm-hmm.
I like watching the relationship develop between the horse and the rider. We do create goals here. Hopefully we have an end goal, but to get there's lots of small ones in between, and it can be a very simple goal. I just find that so rewarding, watching people develop as riders, develop as people, develop in confidence.
So, Jenny, to help you train your own horse to Grand Prix, has there been someone that's been influential? You've talked about your parents and how they fitted in, but anyone else that you think has helped you in your career?
I think I've had two. I've had two people who've made an enormous impact on me. Probably the first person was a woman called Veronique Boulanger. I had lessons and coached with her in my early 20s, which of course was only yesterday. And she had a wonderful insight into horses in terms of seeing them as individuals and seeing them as a whole, rather than doing the movements. She was very much in developing the horse physically.
Yes.
So it was able to do what you wanted it to do. And she also just was a coach more than an instructor, and really looked at you too as a rider and as a person and how you were coping. So she had enormous influence, certainly in the earlier days.
Mm-hmm.
So another person who's had a huge influence on me at the moment is David Shoebridge, and he is actually my present coach at the moment. And he took me on with the horse that I've got at the moment, Archie, probably at a time where we were at a bit of a crossroad, and he has coached me in such a positive manner that he's managed to get us over a few of the speed humps that we had in front of us. And he really is responsible for the fact that horse now is competing at Grand Prix. So He has a huge influence on me.
Good. Is Archie the horse that you think has influenced you the most in your career? You've had him as a young horse, haven't you?
I did. I got him straight from the breakers.
Okay.
Look, I think all my horses have influenced me in one way or another. I mean, every single one that I've had has taught me something. He certainly, I have trained him from the beginning to the end. I've had other horses that have done Grand Prix movements but never actually competed at Grand Prix that I've trained from the beginning. I think they've all influenced me.
Mm-hmm.
And I did have one of the horses that's really influenced me was a little Arab stallion that I took on when I was 18 years old. And when I took him on, he was at RSPCA case. He had a little bit of a habit of standing up and flipping over backwards, so he'd broken a few people's pelvises. And the owners had sort of thrown him out into a paddock with a group of mares, and he'd been beaten up. So being the righteous 18-year-old that I was, I took off with the car and the float, and I loaded him up and I brought him home.
Did you tell the owners? Like you negotiated?
Oh, yes, they did allow me to take him.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I didn't just steal him from them. I was actually taking on one of their horses to event at the time, as I was eventing in those days.
Yes.
And I think they were quite happy to sort of hand the problem over to somebody else. And it was probably 6 months of just retraining and really working with him. And he went on and I showed him at Royal Melbourne. I evented him. I did dressage on him. We did side saddle. We broke him to harness. He just really opened my eyes to the fact that, if you can just hang in there and just keep chipping away at it, look what you can create. So he really drove that home to me at quite a young age.
Yeah, that's good, isn't it? Yeah. Wait, can you hear anything? No? That's because we're waiting for someone with a good quality horse product to be advertised here. If that's you, then contact us, horsechats@horsechats.com, and we'll send you the details. Thanks. What do you think has been your proudest moment with horses?
Oh, it's got to be taking Archie up the Grand Prix centre line not that long ago, probably about 10 months ago. Mm-hmm. That was sort of like when I took him on, my goal at the time was I thought if I could complete a small tour, I would be very happy. And to actually go up that centre line in the Grand Prix test, once I did that first hold, I could have just done a U-turn and walked out.
That's good. That's good. Now thinking, and I know you've had some problems with him, you might want to talk about that, but what do you think was the biggest challenge on the way to getting him up that centre line? Was it problems with him or just problems in general? What do you think was your biggest challenge?
I think he did used to sort of run and buck.
Okay.
And that obviously, that's fairly confronting. Mm. And due to that, I think that I would ride him very much in the safety zone, which meant that as we got into the higher movements and I needed more energy and more forward and more throughness, I had trained him in the safety zone. And so we really had to work at trying to get us both to deal with the extra energy that we needed, that was in there, to do the higher movements. And I think that was the biggest stumbling block along the way.
Okay.
And that's confidence. That's confidence. Confidence in him having confidence in me, and both of us having confidence in our coach.
Yeah, yeah. And that's where you went to your current coach, wasn't it? Is that David Shoebridge?
Yeah. We really, we probably got to meet him and those problems raised their heads and we hit a wall. And it was very hard to go on. And it would have been very easy for me to back down and go, oh, he's no good, or he's temperamentally not right, or I'm no good. But I really like him. Mm-hmm. And so I thought, no, I'm going to bite this bullet. I'm going to push our way through here. There's got to be an answer somewhere. So we did, and we were lucky enough to come across David at that point. So, we were lucky.
Good, good. What would you say to someone if they had, if you saw someone training within that safety zone, what would you say to them if they came to you for lessons and they were training within the safety zone because they didn't want to push the horse that bit more, didn't want to get that extra energy? What would you say as a coach?
I probably, you can't come out of there and just sort of leap out of that spot.
Yep.
I think if you do that, you're going to rattle your own confidence. You're going to rattle your own horse's confidence. I think it's something that you've got to come out of gradually so that it all stays comfortable for both the horse and the rider. Mm-hmm. I mean, the last thing you want to do is rattle anyone's confidence. On saying that, some people's comfort zone is flying around the arena at 1,000 kilometres an hour.
Yeah.
And so it's not always about the forward. It's just perhaps not doing something that you've always done, which has always been your default. So whether it be your default is to kick a horse madly forward when it does something wrong, which adds to the tension, or to lean forward and grab its teeth because you're worried that something's going to happen. They're sort of comfort zones. Yeah. So it's not just about the energy factor. And that's challenging you. That's challenging you as a rider. That's challenging you as a person. Yeah.
Going back to some of your mantras, you're talking about pushing yourself out of your comfort zone. It's come up again. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. As you can see, yeah. It's one of my things.
Yeah. One of my things is if something feels comfortable, I think, I've got to change it.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, now thinking about the riders and the coaches and that you've got, training normally to Grand Prix, without having a challenging horse like Archie, what do you think is another common challenge that people have on their way to Grand Prix?
Probably, and again, I'm throwing back to one of my mantras, which is owning it.
Yep.
Like, I think a lot of people get scared of making mistakes, and I can tell you with every horse I've had, my list of mistakes is very, very, very long. But you can't not do something because you're scared to get it wrong. I mean, getting it wrong is part of the learning process. It's got to be big enough to go, okay, well, that's not good enough and I need to make it better. And that's, what your coach is for. You go back to them and you go, look, I'm getting 4s for my canter pirouette and it's not good enough. What am I doing wrong? And then you've got to take it on. You've got to take it home. You've got to work at it. And you won't get it right straight away. You've just got to be prepared to keep working at it and just own what's happening for you.
Yep. All right. Now, Jenny, have you got a book that you'd like to recommend to our listeners, something that's going to help them complement their training?
Well, I'm not really good on the technical books. I do refer to technical books if I feel I want to check up on something.
Yep.
But I do find with the technical books, it's not necessarily perhaps the way I would look at it or what my horse needs at that time. I'm saying that, I'm certainly not saying they're not useful. I like books that are more about the horse itself.
Yes.
And I think that throws me back to my initial training with Ronnie, where I like to see the horse as an entire thing. So I like books like, I don't know, the book on Valegro, the one that Mary Hannah wrote, The Long Rein.
Yep.
I think Lucinda Green's done some, where they're talking about their training, they're talking about what they've done. It's in there, but it's all tied in with this particular horse and its particular characteristics. So they're the sort of books I like.
Yeah. And remember, you can find all the books recommended by our guests at horsechats.com/books. You can have a look at the guest page for the individual book they recommended, or just look at the recommended books by order of popularity at horsechats.com/books. Okay, what are you looking forward to at the moment? What does your future hold?
I have a new young horse that I was going to say
more Grand Prix tests. Yeah. Oh, you've got a young horse that you're ready to bring on. Yeah,
hopefully they'll be getting better.
Yes.
Yes, we have a new young horse. He is 4. He had his first outing about 2 weeks ago. Mm-hmm. So I guess I'm strapping in for the next ride. And then he's a completely different horse than probably what I've trained before. So I've got a whole new lot of things I have to learn with riding him. So, yeah, that's the next step.
That's good. Jenny, just in a few sentences now, and I know you've summed up, you've done your mantras, which you've sort of gone and repeated through. Just summarise your philosophy with horses into a message would be great.
I think it really goes back to you got to train from the positive.
Mm-hmm.
You can't train from the negative, whether you're being a student, whether you're being a coach, whether you're being a trainer, whether you're being a competitor. You can't. It's so easy. You get your dressage tests and you can look at them and you can go, oh, that's so negative. But what you've got to remember is those judges are telling you why you haven't got a 10. They're not telling you you're no good. They're just saying these are the bits that you need to work on. So you can take that and say, oh, I'm hopeless, look at that, I got 40%. But what you've got to do is take that and go, these are the areas that I need to work on, and I will take one of those and I will start to work on that. And then you're training from a positive viewpoint. It's the same with my horse always shines there. So then you're coming in there and you're negative about it. You're going, he's always going to shy there. You can go in and go, okay, he's pushing against my inside leg there. That's what I need to make better. So therefore he hopefully won't shy. So straight away you're training from a positive viewpoint, not a negative.
Yeah.
So I like to try and think of everything that way.
Good. Jenny, how's the best way for people to contact you?
Probably I am an NCAS coach, so my phone number is on the website, or you can reach me through Facebook or social media and just under my own name.
Okay, we'll have all those links as well on your page at Horse Chats, which will be horsechats.com/Jenny Bray, or go to horsechats.com, search for Jenny or search for Bray, and you'll find all those details and the links going straight through to contact Jenny. Okay, Jenny, thank you for coming. Thank you for your time. Thank you for talking to us and telling us from your mantras right through to your philosophy with horses. I've certainly enjoyed it, and I think everyone brings in their different viewpoints, so it's been really good talking to you, and hopefully we'll get you back again sometime soon.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Glenys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Now, if you're still there, you probably know that I'm absolutely passionate about education within the horse industry. That's why I host this podcast. My other venture is Online Horse College. Have a look now at onlinehorsecollege.com, and I'll see you over there.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.